What's going on, Falcon fan? This is Ricondo. Real Falcon fan, come back at you with another video. Today we're going to talk about the depth chart. The Falcons released their preseason depth chart for Game 1 against the Tennessee Titans. And guess what, guys? We got 2 more days before we get to look at see what our guys look like this year. So I'm very excited about that. I hope you guys are. Before we get started today, though, I want you guys make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the like buttons. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll know when I drop another video. We do have a little news today. Yesterday I was on. So yesterday the Atlanta Falcons, they signed Deontay Foreman, a former running back that was with the Tennessee Titans, with the Houston Texans. It could just be a count body, but like I said before, it seems like the Falcons, Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith, is making sure that they keep bringing competition to the team. And if you're looking at the depth chart for that right now, it's going to be interesting where you're going to see Deontay Foreman, where he's actually listed on the depth chart going into Friday preseason game. So I thought that was very interesting, him just getting to the team and then he's not at the bottom of the depth chart. So just think about that. So let's get into it. So first of all, we're going to talk about the offensive depth chart. And of course, we're going to start with the quarterbacks. Of course, number 1, Matt Ryan. AJ McCarron, then Felipe Franks is rounding off at the third spot. Of course, that was expected. I don't think we thought it was going to be anything different from that. Of course, Matty Ice probably won't play a whole lot in the first preseason game. I think he might get 1 or 2 series, maybe 1 series, and then they probably take him out and let the other 2 quarterbacks battle it out for that second quarterback position. So just gonna be interesting to see how that unfolds in the quarterback position. Let's go to the running backs. So now, like what I said before, I think it's very interesting. Of course, we got Mike Davis running off number 1. Then we got Cordair Patterson is actually the number 2 running back on the depth chart, which I'm not really surprised about that because I think Cordair Patterson brings a lot of versatility, a lot of flexibility because he's able to catch the ball out of the backfield. You can line him up in the wildcat. He's very athletic. And then one thing I think that factor in a lot that people don't want to give a lot of credit to is that he's a big guy. He's over 6'3", about 220 pounds. So I think Cordair Patterson is going to be very instrumental, and using that receiver ability that he has coming out of the backfield is going to be a real explosive weapon for the Atlanta Falcons this year. So I'm not surprised about him being number 2. Rounding it off, you got Cordair Patterson. It's number 3, which is, like I said, that was expected. The thing what's interesting though at number 4 is Deontay Foreman, the one we just picked up. And looking like this depth chart, if I just want to be honest with you guys, I think it's more about just putting the veterans up first, getting veterans opportunity to show on the depth chart and see what they can actually do. But I think, and then making the rookies understand they got to earn their position. That even though you were drafted, even though you're young, you got to come in and you got to earn your position. So then, like I said, it's Cato Huntley right after that, and then Javian Hawkins. So Javian Hawkins, and we talked about him, who's actually pretty much the only change of pace back that we have on the team, that speed. But right now he's last on the depth chart. Like I said, we all know that we're not going to keep that many running backs. So if it was to stay like this, I could see Javian Hawkins probably end up on the practice squad. And if he ends up on the practice squad, more likely he'd probably get poached by another team because I think he's a talented guy. And if we don't find a spot for him on the 53-man roster, I think somebody else is going to take him up. All right, let's go to the receivers. Of course, we got Calvin Ridley, Christian Blake, Chris Rowland, Jawan Green, Jamon Moore, and Antonio Nunn. I'm not surprised at that at all. Calvin Ridley and Christian Blake has been showing a lot of flashes during training camp. Of course, we're really not surprised about Calvin Ridley, but Christian Blake is behind him and playing that position. Then Chris Rowland, which is actually it's really not surprising because I thought Chris Rowland, um, from being undrafted last year, showed a lot of potential. He just never got an opportunity to actually put it on the field last year. So that's that's really not that interesting, not that surprising to see him third. But then, like I said, running it off, we got Juwan Green and Javon Moore, Antonio Nunn. Those guys probably won't make it. So then you look at that second wide receiver depth portion. You got Russell Gage. Of course, we thought he was going to be our number two. Alameda Zaccheaus, Tarjay Sharp, Trevor Davis, and then we got Frank Dargan and Austin Trammell as ending up the last two spots over there. So, like I said, once again, those rookies showing up at the bottom of the depth chart. Not that surprising going into the first preseason game. The coaching staff letting these guys know that if they want to beat the team, they got to earn their spots. It could be just lack of experience as well. Not doing everything that they should be doing on the practice field. But um, it just goes to show that Arthur Smith is letting these guys know, and the coaching staff letting these guys know that um, there's no spots guaranteed on this roster, and just because they're on the depth chart at the bottom, don't really mean anything either. It's just showing that going into the first preseason game, these veteran guys are actually going to get a chance to prove themselves and compete with these young guys. All right, let's move on to the tight ends. So the first tight end, and it's not Mr. Pitts on the depth chart. It's actually Hayden Hurst. Kyle Pitts is second, and then we got John Rain. And the second tight end spot would be Lee Smith, Parker Hess, and Ryan Becker. So, like I said, once again, even though Mr. Pitts was drafted 4 overall, it's not a guarantee that they're not going to give him the starting tight end position. Hayden Hurst been in the league for 4 years, so I mean it's going to be his 4th year this year. So you can see that they're not just going to go ahead and give Mr. Pitts his spot at the starting tight end, which is understandable. I think when when the first game come around, I think Mr. Pitts going to actually be number one on the depth chart, but he has to earn the spot. It was reported that the coaches and Matt Ryan was working with him in the red zone, making sure that he get run the route correctly. Because in the red zone is real important. Those tight windows that you have in the red zone, and if you make a mistake, you can go away having a turnover or not getting a touchdown like we want. So I'm glad that they're putting all the pressure on Mr. Pitts, making sure that he get down because being number 4 pick overall, it's going to be a lot expected of you. So the whole old Spider-Man saying, with great power comes great responsibility. All right, let's go to the left tackle. Of course, we got Jake Matthews, Jason Spriggs, William Sweet, and Keon Smith. That's your left tackle. Your left guard, which is not a surprise, Josh Andrews, Sam Jones, Ryan Luziel for your left guards. I don't know those backup left guard guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how they look on film on the field on Friday. Okay, at your center spot, you got Matt Hensey. No surprise there. Drew Dahlman and Joe Scarborough. So just looking at that, of course, like I said, that's not also not a surprise. Matt Hennessy's been doing very well coming back from last season. They say he's actually taking control of the offense, making all the calls. He's showing command. A lot of growth from year 1 and year 2 for Matt Hennessy. So more than likely, Matt Hennessy probably solidify himself as the starting center, which is great. We won't have to start a rookie in that spot. And it looks like Josh Andrews has, at this point right now, is rounding himself off as being the left guard. We mentioned about Josh Andrews that wasn't getting a lot of good praise coming from his previous spots. But once again, you never know. Get good coaching, good technique, good scheme, and you could have a better showing. So right now, the coaching staff look like they're trusting Josh Andrews to be that starting left guard. We're just gonna have to see on the field and see if it's gonna pay off. A lot of people might want to panic about our offensive line, but until we actually get to see these guys on the field, and see we can determine what they expect from these guys. Like I said, new coaching staff. So I mean, just because he didn't show well in other spots, don't mean that he's just a strictly a backup. Maybe he could actually get him a role and be a starting left guard for the Atlanta Falcons and wreak havoc. Because we're gonna try to run that ball, and we're gonna try to make sure we can protect Matt Ryan. And one interesting fact, I didn't realize that Matt Ryan was sacked 40 times last year. We definitely got to have to fix that. 40 times, a lot of times to be sacked. Um, and put in perspective, the Falcons only had 29 sacks as a defense. So our quarterback got sacked 40 times, and our defense only had 29 sacks as a defense. So just put that in perspective. All right, the right guard spot, of course, we got Chris Lindstrom, Willie Wright, and then Bryce Hargrove. So, of course, we're not no surprise with Chris Lindstrom. I think he's going to end up being an all-pro left guard. He's been steady his whole time since he's been in the league. So he got a small injury the first season of his career. But other than that, Chris Lindstrom been solid. And Arthur Smith mentioned that he loves to put Chris Lindstrom up against Grady Jarrett. And that's just awesome because going up against a guy like Grady Jarrett, you always got to be on your best. And that's when you definitely get the term iron sharpen iron. So I love this. I love the way that they have those guys competing. And finally, after all these last 2 weeks of going up against one another, we'll be able to go up against another team. So that's going to be interesting. All right, let's get to the right tackle spot. So we're looking to think about right tackle. Right now, Willie Beavers is actually first on the depth chart for the right tackle. Caleb McGarry, of course. It was noted that Caleb McGarry was not going to start anyway, was not going to play in this week's preseason game since he just came back from the PUP list. But he's still listed as number 2 on the depth chart. And then, once again, our rookie, Jalen Mayfield, is picking up that third and final right tackle spot. So that's no surprise. And I think if you look at the whole depth chart, it's not one rookie that's actually on the first or look like in some cases on the first or second teams, except Mr. Pitts, of course. He's backing up Hayden Hurst. But other than that, it looks like none of the rookies actually was able to crack the starting lineup for the first preseason game, which really just take it with a grain of salt. I think it don't mean anything for us as far as moving forward, but for this week, it's just showing that where the coaching staff is just letting these guys know that nothing is given, everything is earned, and you got to actually go out there and show it on the field. All right, let's go to the outside linebackers. So first, on one side, you got Jacob Tuoni Mariner, Brandon Copeland, Sharif Miller, and Okindeji. So that's on one side for our outside linebackers. On the other side, you got Steven Means, Dante Fowler Jr., Tuzar Skipper, George Obani, and Kobe Jones on the other side. So our outside linebackers. So you see, Dante Fowler Jr. is not even showing up on the depth chart, but that's also not a surprise because he just got back from the COVID-19 reserve list. So pretty sure once he get more reps, I'm not sure if he's actually going to play this Friday. We just have to wait to see. We know Caleb McGarry is not playing, but we haven't heard the word on Dante Fowler. We just have to see how many reps he's going to get. But I anticipate Dante Fowler actually going to be that starting outside linebacker for us in our defense. So let's go to the linebackers. Of course, we got Deion Jones, Michael Walker, and Dorian Eldridge. That's one side, and then the other side, Foye Olukun, Emmanuel Ellerby, and Earl Thompson. So, of course, we have our 3 awesome linebackers, of course. Deion Jones, Michael Walker, and Foye Olukun. It's interesting to see if any of the other linebackers actually going to make the team. We just have to wait and see. So that's what we lined off for our defensive side. Let's go to our cornerbacks. Of course, we got A.J. Terrell, Chris Williamson, Kendall Sheffield. Whoa, Kendall Sheffield. Now, that's interesting. Kendall Sheffield is not a rookie, but he's still showing up third on the depth chart. And then back in the rear is Marcus Murphy. So that's interesting to see about Kendall Sheffield behind Chris Williamson. And Chris Williamson, who actually, if you guys remember one of my videos, I talked about he was actually one of the standouts that was making a name for himself and during training camp. And it looked like he's going to be that second that behind A.J. Terrell, probably on the left side of the field. Then on the right side, you got Fabian Moreau, Isaiah Oliver, Derek Abrams, Darren Hall, and Avery Williams. Once again, you got the 2 rookies backing up the back. So I'm not surprised by that at all. Okay, you got safety. So, of course, you got your 2 safeties. You got Deron Harmon, Jalen Hawkins, Jared Pace, and then Dwayne Johnson. I think that's going to be your free safeties. And then for your strong safety, you got Eric Harris, T.J. Green, and once again, Richie Grant. So, if you're looking at the whole depth chart, and what I took from this whole depth chart for the most part, every rookie that was drafted or unsigned undrafted free agent pretty much was on the bottom of the depth chart. And I think that was by design, by the coaching staff. Let all these young guys know that you had to earn your play time, you had to earn your rights. So none of the rookies that was drafted, no matter how well they played during training camp, how well they've been doing, for this week, this preseason, none of those guys is gonna pop up on the depth chart. But guess what? Most of those guys gonna probably play the most during preseason 1. So they'll be able to like I said, earn their spots moving up the depth chart for the next 2 games for the next week. So that's gonna be very interesting to see. And then let's round it out with our special teams. Of course, we got our kicker, Younghoe Koo, and Cameron Nezak. My punter, Cameron Nezak, and Don Maggio. Of course, our long snapper is Josh Harris and Jake Matthews. I didn't know Jake Matthews was a backup long snapper. And then we have our punt returners. It's Chris Rowland and Avery Williams. And then our kicker returner is Cordair Patterson and Chris Rowland. So if you look at that, Chris Rowland, his name keeps popping up. He was third on the depth chart in receiving, and then now he's first on punt returns and second on kickoff returns. So that bodes well for him. If the season were to start today, look like he might make the 53-man roster. However, we all know that's not the case. Season does not start today. However, I think they have to start cutting guys after the first preseason game. I'm not sure how many guys they have to cut, but we're going to start being able to narrow this thing down a little bit so these guys can actually get to their 53-man roster. And I think they're allowed to keep 12 on the practice squad. I'm not sure. Last year, if you guys recall, that it was extended from 10. So I'm not sure how many they're going to be able to keep on the practice squad this year. I think that's still they kept that in effect for this year because we still, dealing with COVID-19. So we just have to wait to see how that turns out for the practice squad. So you guys let me know what you guys think about the depth chart for preseason game 1. We all know that most of these guys going to get moved around. especially people like the right tackle position. I'm thinking about Mr. Pitts probably is going to get his name on there. Hopefully, we get to see Richard Grant get some run. I'm not sure about the cornerback position. Um, Kendall Sheffield, start to show something because he might be the outside man. He might be the out man looking, outside. He might not make the free 3-man roster. And then you got the one position that I'm really interested in is the running back position. Because right now you have the two Wally vets, 1 and 2, Cordair Patterson, Caleb Huntley, who's actually been looking really good. He looked really good on Saturday at the open practice that we had at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Then if you look at some of the films coming out of camp, he's actually making great cuts. He's looking real good. It's not a whole lot of highlights from Javian Hawkins. So even though he's dynamic, I'm not sure. Excuse me. I'm not sure how much he's gonna how much he's been flashing during training camp. So that's very interesting to see. So other than that, guys, you let me know what you guys think about my first depth chart for preseason one. Um, I'm not. I think I'm definitely think it's going to change a whole lot, but we just have to find out. I'm very excited. See, I got my Atlanta Falcons stuff on gear right now. I bought my new hat when I went to the stadium this weekend. So really looking forward to see what these guys do on Friday. Um, Hope you guys are too. So with that, please, like I said, hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Let me guys know what you think about the depth chart. And let me know how excited you guys are. Well, see what these guys are going to do first preseason game against those Tennessee Titans. With that, talk to you guys later. Peace.